Honestly, this candle smells so good, I can't even focus. Let's talk about how to charge money as a freelancer today, because when I first got started freelancing, I had no clue how to charge clients to do work for them, so I started with hourly, assuming that was the easiest and best option. It was in fact not the best option by far. So in this video, let's talk about the 5 main types of ways you can charge your clients as a freelancer, plus the biggest pros and cons of each type. Hey, my name is Dea, freelancer, digital business manager, most recently entrepreneur. And as always, you can find sections on the play bar below if you want to skip to a certain part of the video. Your time is precious, so take what you need. And if you want to watch this on 2x, I will not be offended in the least. Okay, let's dive into the video. Here are the 5 different ways you can charge money as a freelancer. Hourly is exactly as it sounds like. You charge X amount per hour for work, like $30 an hour, and then you'll have to track your time and bill the amount of hours you worked multiplied by your hourly rate. So if you work 10 hours, your hourly rate is $30 an hour, you bill $300. So depending on your client, you may have to use a time tracking tool like Toggle and submit your hourly breakdowns and timesheet to them as well at the end of the month. So pros here. Really, the only time I use hourly is when I'm not sure what the scope of the project is for clients that really don't know yet. So for example, if a client comes to me and says, Dea, I really need help with team management. Can you manage my team on a weekly basis? That's relatively hard for me to scope and guess how long it will take on the spot. So hourly is normally easier to start with to see how much work it really is. And then once I have a better estimate of how long it will take me, then I turn it into a package or retainer rate. That's more of a stable fixed income. Cons to hourly. There are truly a lot. Hourly is my least favorite way to charge, and I do my best to avoid it always. So a major con is that you don't really want your time to be tied to your income because it'll make it really hard to scale because you really only have X hours per week capped, right? Another thing with hourly is that as you get better and better, faster and faster at your job, you're essentially penalized for it. You will be paid less because you're doing it faster, even if the value to the client is the same. Another con is you will have to time track, which can be pretty annoying, especially if your client makes you submit reports. I personally hated doing this and I stopped doing this and didn't work with clients that required this after my first year of freelancing. Now, if you're here because you're looking for a step-by-step guide on how to calculate your hourly rates, I've got another detailed video on that I will link to in the top right corner, whichever side that is on your screen. The second type is project or deliverable based. Basically, this means you can complete a one-time X project or deliver a list of items and you get paid a fixed amount for finishing that list or that one project. As an example, you could write 4 blog posts and get paid a fixed $500 for it. It really has nothing to do with how long it takes you. It just has to do with the deliverables. In this case, the 4 blog posts are the deliverables. So pros to this is, first of all, of course, it's not tied to your time. So if you're good and fast at your job, then you can get paid really well for your expertise. Another pro is that it's a set amount, which is kind of really nice because you can then more realistically gauge how much money will come in at month's end versus hourly, where you may not know how much you'll work in a month for a client, if that makes sense. Cons. Okay, this isn't a super con, but something to be mindful of as this can be a huge trap. If you do project or deliverable based, you have to be crystal clear in scope and expectations. Otherwise, it will be chaos. So if you don't know what scope of a project is, a scope is basically the box of your project. What are the edges of your project? Because if you don't have a box, it can just expand into infinity. And it has, for me, true story. Clients being like, could you add this on? Could you add that on? Could you actually do this? Could you actually do that? You want to have a crystal clear box that both people understand this is the limit of the project and we can only fulfill up to that limit. So for example, with the blog post, you need it written down in the contract, how many words each post should be at a minimum, what format should they be delivered, how many revision rounds are included, will images be included, etc., all the details you can think of. If you don't get clear on the expectations, it will be a nightmare later because your client will be like, oh, well, I thought, blah, blah, blah. So please make sure you do that. There is a lot of talk about value-based pricing in the freelance space, so let me talk about that for a second. First of all, your worth is inherent to you. No one can put a price point on that. We are not talking about your worth or your value as a human being whatsoever. Detach your sense of worth from how much money you're making, please. Speaking as someone who has been there and still sometimes does that. When we talk about value-based pricing, we are talking about the value of your skill set in the context of your market or industry, and specifically the value of your skill set in helping a client achieve their goals, whether that is to make more money, save time, save mental energy, etc. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion per se, but if you're just getting started, don't worry about value-based pricing. For the amount of people that tell you to do value-based pricing, there is no real mathematical equation to calculate this number. If you're just getting started, you may not be super familiar with how much value you're truly providing a client, so don't worry about value-based when you're just starting. Just forget about it, start with what you know, and it will come. It'll come with time and experience. Value-based is really something you should only slowly move into as you gain more experience and understanding, because only then can you better contextualize the value of your work to the client's business, and then you can charge matching rates too. Once you see like, whoa, this is all that I did and this is what I helped this person accomplish, let me think about my rates again. But more specifically, I believe value to a client can be distilled down to 3 major factors: money, time, and energy. So helping them save or make money, helping them save or make time, or helping them save or make mental energy. So if you've been working with a client for a while, start thinking about some of these 3 factors and how your work is contributing to these factors. Some things you can consider when thinking about value-based pricing that I like to think of is stuff like 1, known monetary results of the freelance service you are offering. Like an example is, if you're a copywriter and you wrote this killer sales page for a client, you know that sales page helped that client generate over 6 figures for that business. That is a known result, right? A known ROI, return on investment, on that investment of how much they paid you. Send out a survey to past clients, or when you offboard projects, ask them that question. Check in with clients 6 to 12 months after you wrap up a project to see results more concretely. Write case studies on them to really capture the results of your work. 2, consider time or energy saved as well. This is something we don't really think about too much, but as a business owner now, I will pay so much money for people who save me mental energy and time, because that is such a precious resource that I didn't realize was so scarce. So think about how much time and energy you are helping a client save. Did you take them from a 60-hour work week to a 30-hour work week? Did they go from hating their work to liking their work in business again? Those are very important to think about. Another thing is perceived value. Okay, what does a client think a service is worth to them in their current situation, not how much a service costs you to perform. So how urgent, for example, is the issue? So as an example, this is a true story. If you are a digital business manager and you are on a discovery call with a potential client whose entire business is up in flames, they absolutely hate having to manage the day-to-day operations. They feel endlessly stressed because they have no systems, no processes. They can't scale their business because everything internal is a nightmare, so much so that they want to burn their business down to the ground. Then the perceived value of a service, of saying something like, you know what, I'll step into your business. I will take everything you hate about managing your business, the team, projects off your plate. I will create systems and processes for you so that you can actually take time off, go on vacation without worrying your business is going to break down without you. And you can actually go back to doing what you want to do in your business. That is like music to a burnt out entrepreneur's ears. You are saving them time and mental energy and helping them make more money in the long run. That is a triple whammy. That perceived value is high. It can be life-changing value to them. And it has nothing to do with the amount of time you spend at a laptop or the amount of hours, right? So consider also that it's really about how much the client needs your service in their situation. So pros to value-based pricing. Value is honestly the best foundation for pricing for both you and the client long term. The cons is it's super hard to calculate and not beginner friendly. I don't recommend this to beginners. Very important also around value-based pricing is to know and understand that most of the time a client's not really thinking, how long is this task going to take me to do? They're thinking, how much money is this investment going to bring me and my business? So as you get a better and better understanding of how much ROI you can help clients generate, the more you can ground your pricing foundation in the value. And very importantly, regardless of any of these different ways to charge, always tie your pricing to the value you're bringing to the table when you talk about it, not the actual intricacies of how you do your job. Clients don't really care about softwares, techniques, frameworks as much as they care about what's this going to do for my business at the end of the day? How is it going to help me reach my goal? So, TED Talk over. Retainers are probably my personal favorite type of way to get paid. Essentially what this is that the client pays a fixed amount, for example, $2,000 a month, to retain you on a recurring basis. These are normally based on hourly or deliverables, so those are the two types of retainers. So for example, a $2,000 a month hourly retainer where the client expects you to set aside 20 hours a month for them, or you can have a $2,000 a month deliverable retainer where the client expects you to do this list, like run the day-to-day operations of their business. It's kind of like a reservation of your time to say, please keep this slot open for me. So again, the two types are one where it's based on the hours. So you save a specific amount of hours for the client every single month. The other one is deliverable where you do a list of items. So you have to make sure that you make a very clear list with your client of what you're going to be doing on a month-to-month basis for their business. So pros of retainers, I mean, you guessed it, it is recurring and safe, two of my favorite things in the world. I think a lot of like the freelance ebb and flow was fixed for me via retainers. I was able to have income that I could really count on. It was kind of like getting a paycheck from a 9-to-5, but with more freedom. And I normally always had clients, like 2 or 3 clients on a retainer at a time as a stable income foundation for me. And then I would take smaller one-off projects if I wanted to, but I knew I didn't have to because I had those stable retainers. Alongside that, when you sign retainers, you don't constantly have to be looking for new clients, which is really nice as well. You can kind of just build like long-term relationships with your clients on a recurring basis based on a recurring need in their business. Some cons. I don't really know, honestly, any cons here. You just have to make sure to spell out details of the retainer, like do hours carry over to the next month? Do you have to time track and submit your timesheets? What can the retainer be used for? Etc., etc. And actually make sure that if there is more work than originally agreed upon, you make it clear upfront, you reevaluate the scope, and then if the client says okay to overtime, then you should bill overtime. Another con is with a retainer, you kind of have to make sure the service you're offering is a recurring need one way or another to the client. You know, it's not more of like a one-off service that they need. Like for example, setup of a website or a one-time audit, those are not really things you can do on a retainer basis. I mean, maybe you could try, but it would be harder to do on a retainer basis. But things like, for example, as a digital business manager, a lot of my stuff was very recurring because I had to do those on a monthly basis. Like managing a team is not really something you do once. It's something you have to do weekly and monthly. Helping with developing processes and systems, that's also kind of a continuous need. Managing projects, especially for bigger businesses that have projects going on all the time, is definitely a continuous need. So that made retainer setups much more, I guess, favorable for my types of services. So having a think about how you can make sure there is a recurring need for your service if you want to set up a retainer. So commission-based is when you take a percentage cut of the profit or income of a specific project or the entire business, depending. So an example I've heard from a copywriter is they take a percentage cut of all sales generated through a sales page that he wrote. For a digital business manager, I've done it once where I got a cut from the revenue of a course launch that I managed, only of that launch. But honestly, of all the pricing models, this is the one I have least experience in. But some pros here are, it is great if you are great at your job and know how to drive revenue for clients and you feel confident about whatever the commission is based on. This can be a really great way to be rewarded for being brilliant and can be a great motivator to ultimately help you help grow the business, right? Cons are, it's potentially risky if you do it with a client, business, or industry that you don't really know, and it's super risky if you do a payment structure where it's solely commission-based. I would not recommend that unless it's someone you truly, truly believe in, a product that you are like, this is definitely going to succeed, and you are 99% sure you are going to be compensated well for the amount of time that you are working for this person. Otherwise, I would recommend doing a combination of like a lower amount of retainer plus the commission-based or something as your payment package. So yeah, those are the main 5 types. Which of the 5 is the best in your opinion? Let me know below. Let's discuss. And if you're looking for more help with getting going with freelancing, open the description box below. There's cool stuff in there that you can check out. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!